Wild gulls and ravens soon figured out their training schedule. Once they knew when the CIA birds would show up, they would lie in wait and then attack.
All right, y'all, welcome back to Comet Arms channel. Okay, so today we're checking out a video from the Fern YouTube channel. Now, I've only just discovered this channel maybe like a few months ago, and it has some really, really interesting stuff. Just really interesting stories, but also the animations just really take it over the top. And the narration is also really well done. So this one is titled The Weirdest CIA Experiment. So I guess this is kind of all about the CIA utilizing animals, specifically, I think pigeons for this video, for their sort of spy operations. And I mean, there's just some things you hear, because you guys might know I serve in counterintelligence now, but there's some things that you hear and you're like, yeah, that's definitely like World War II or kind of like Cold War, more Cold War era stuff, where people were getting really, really crafty. And I've gone to the International Spy Museum a couple times, and I've kind of seen a lot of the more like historical uses of these things. And it's really fascinating stuff. I mean, it had some utility. There's one story that gets around and it's really funny. Like the CIA spent like millions of dollars on training cats, or maybe it's just one specific cat, to like eavesdrop or kind of conduct surveillance, like walking around. Obviously you're not gonna, there's stray cats all over the place, especially depending on where you're at. So you're not really going to expect like this cat to be eavesdropping on your conversation and try and catch people during like their operational acts. But like they spent all this money on it, and then it like was going, I think it was going to like surveil on some people and got hit by a car like immediately. It's really, really funny. And I think at that point it was just completely canned. I don't know if that's just like a myth, but I've heard that a lot in the CI, the counterintelligence community. And it is always really, really funny to hear. Cause I mean, sometimes you just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. And this was one of those things that just didn't stick. So yeah. This video is about 23 minutes long, so pretty long. I think they're going to have some pretty comprehensive coverage. They do a really good job of getting like really in the nitty gritty and getting in the weeds of all these things. So I'm excited to check this one out. Let's do it.
This pigeon is a CIA spy. It's wearing a tiny high-tech camera.
Such a cool animation.
And it's about to gather intelligence on Soviet nuclear submarines.
Oh my God. I think I got one of the spy birds right outside my house right now.
This is a dolphin. Right now, it's being trained to carry bombs and attach them to enemy vessels, possibly miniaturized nuclear bombs. This raven isn't just flying around.
I got stories about dolphins too.
Currently, it's heading towards the hotel room of a KGB agent to plant a bug there. And this cat has been sent to spy on a Chinese diplomat. It had a microphone surgically implanted in its ear, and there's an antenna in its tail. This all sounds like science fiction. But animal spies are very real.
I don't know if PETA would approve of that.
Their stories have long been shrouded in secrecy, myths, and legends.
They're not going to know anyway.
But in 2019, the CIA released a large trove of previously classified documents. They give us a glimpse into how the CIA tries to weaponize animals.
So cool.
Today, we will look at the 4 most spectacular projects. They reveal a story of Cold War paranoia, unchecked hubris, absurd waste, spectacular failures, and wild ideas that were taken too far.
Dude, for real, the Cold War, again, was just like the height of spycraft. Oh my gosh, it was insane.
Most of this video is based on declassified CIA documents. Of course, the CIA wants to present itself in a certain light, and it's careful about what it reveals.
So generally speaking, when it comes to classified documents, so like, let's say if something is classified confidential, so it's still a classified document, that will usually have kind of like a 10-year declassification block put on it. Something that's secret would be 25 years, and something that's top secret would be 50 years. So let's see, if this was 67 declassified, well, the proof for release in 2019. Quick math. That's 33, 40, 52. So 52 years. So yeah, probably just after 50 years, they declassified it. I mean, this one was only secret, but I'm not sure how it was back then. So it is cool seeing like declassified documents. I will say that, just seeing, especially like ones with pictures, to see like what they're focusing on and to see like how much effort went into like one specific operation or some program is really, really interesting. But also like really like the amount of waste just trying to like modernize and just adapt all of this new tradecraft was insane. Some really creative stuff, and some stuff that actually, stuck and is still around today.
Reveals. Some parts are heavily redacted, and sometimes other sources give conflicting information. We can only present what we know, and if we don't know something, we'll be transparent about it. As always, you can find our sources in the description.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Humans weaponize animals to make use of special capabilities they themselves lack. A dog's sense of smell is up to 10,000 times stronger than ours. It's perfect for sniffing out illegal drugs. To cross the Alps and invade Italy, the Carthaginian general Hannibal used war elephants. During World War II, the Polish army deployed a brown bear named Wojciech to the Italian front. In Iraq, the US military worked with dolphins, putting their unparalleled echolocation skills to use detecting underwater mines.
So I'll say, even when we were guarding the nuclear submarines, like these dolphins were also in play. You had dolphins in the water patrolling because of like their capability to pick up on things, but also to be able to communicate it, which was really, really fascinating. It was just bizarre. I mean, I was like a 19-year-old Lance Corporal just behind this machine gun, and I just see these dolphins with chem lights like strapped to their backs, just patrolling in the water. And like, don't get me wrong, you will hear about it before you go to the school, but to actually see it was just weird. I mean, they had dolphins and sea lions just like weaponized to guard nukes. It was so cool.
And some work with animals is veiled in secrecy. By their nature, it's hard to tell exactly how far these programs have progressed.
The operator manual?
In 2019, a beluga whale was discovered in Norwegian waters wearing a camera harness. The tag identified it as belonging to St. Petersburg, Russia. It was quickly accused of being a spy. In 2007, Iran apprehended 14 squirrels near a nuclear enrichment plant. The animals were arrested as spies. In 2018, a senior military advisor told journalists that Western nuclear spies had been using lizards to collect information about Iran's nuclear program. Animals have an inherent advantage that human spies lack. People simply don't notice them.
Lizards would be cool.
Unlike human agents or advanced technology like drones, animals can typically pass undetected, even in secure areas. But there's a problem. Animals are not natural spies. They need training. During the Cold War, the CIA faced a mighty adversary, the Soviet Union. In trying to claim the upper hand, the agency explored all sorts of methods, some of them highly unorthodox. Psychedelic drugs,
some
mind
immoral,
control, silent killer weapons, stealing Russian submarines, and, of course, animal agents.
Oh my god, there's so many cool stories when you really get into it.
In the mid-1960s,
checking out more
the
of that
CIA
on the
launched
channel.
Project Axiolite. The goal was to provide reliable trained avian vehicles for emplacement, transport, and or recovery of reconnaissance surveillance sensors to meet operational requirements as defined by the sponsors. In other words, the CIA was training birds to transport things like recording devices. But which birds were spy material?
Pigeons
there were several
weird,
candidates,
is a weird
some
move,
stronger than others.
I mean, there's so many of them.
The cockatoo seemed to be a wild card. One memo states, "We are completely in the dark as to what the possibilities are in regard to this critter." There were high hopes for the hawks. Brandy and GB are two of the program's hawks.
Probably stand out a little bit.
They were especially reliable and determined. They could locate specific objects or features in strange territory. They could carry a 13-ounce package for more than a mile. They could even remove objects from a harness they themselves were wearing.
13 ounce, so a little bit less than a pound for a mile. I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool. That's crazy. It's like they just keep adding weight to it, and they're like, okay, go a mile, until they like reached like, okay, we hit 14 ounces. It didn't quite make a mile. I got a little bit too tired.
But in general, they were not considered strong flyers. Horned owls respond to a high-frequency whistle and can be recalled by trainers, even in extreme low-light situations. But in daylight, their ability to discern objects is much worse than that of other birds.
They're so dope.
As time progresses, one unlikely candidate stands out. Duda,
just use them at nighttime.
A raven.
Well, I guess it's restrictive for the amount
We now
of
know
money.
that ravens are extremely intelligent birds. They have excellent memories, can plan for the future, and are capable of using tools and solving puzzles. Researchers have found that 4-month-old ravens can perform certain cognitive tasks, as well as adult-grade apes. CIA documents usually stick to dry facts, but Duda was Project Axiolite's superstar. In one memo, an agent dedicates a whole page to the saga of Duda.
the saga of Duda.
Project Axiolite began at a Navy facility at San Clemente Island off the coast of California. There, the CIA tested the strength of various birds. Their task, fly from the island to a boat and back. This might sound easy, but the distance was challenging, and the winds could be strong. Most birds can manage to fly between 50 yards and 1.5 miles.
Damn, how far are they
Duda,
pushing them?
meanwhile, flew 3.5 miles.
Oh my god,
A
beast
few months
mode.
later, he was almost doubling that distance.
Oh my gosh.
He was also problem solving. In every session, he would figure out exactly the right altitude he needed to fly.
I think this dude was
conditions.
he was sent to
Aggressive
the
native birds
US.
posed a major threat to the CIA
The
trainees.
double agent.
Wild gulls and ravens soon figured out their training schedule. Once they knew when the CIA birds would show up, they would lie in wait and then attack.
Oh my god.
But Duda
Fucking
solved this
seagulls
problem
are
too.
savage.
To avoid the gulls, he'd keep to a higher altitude and outfly them. The wild ravens were another matter.
Stay above the
They
radar.
would hide behind the bluffs, waiting for an opportunity to attack. Duda's solution was to engage in brief dogfights with the ravens,
Oh
while
my
leading them further
god,
and
what is
further from
going
shore.
on?
After about a mile, they would give up and turn back.
I'd love to see the footage for this. Or the person documenting
Ravens' intelligence
it,
made
like
them good at more than flying.
dog fighting.
According to Navy animal trainer Bob Bailey, they could be taught to recognize specific desks, open drawers, and carry heavy objects like file folders.
Oh my
The
god.
CIA started training ravens
Yoink.
like Duda extensively and eventually used them in the field. According to the CIA
Like-
documents, this is
Sir, you won't believe it. Like, where's this document? You know, I was expecting it like an hour ago. This bird, it came in, and it's kind of like the dog ate my homework kind of thing, except you have this raven that came in and stole a classified document and flew away.
how they did it.
They're like, okay, so
The
you're
CIA
a spy.
agent wants to record a secret
Gotcha.
conversation between enemy agents. He knows where and when it's taking place, down to the building and the exact room. Now he needs to get a recording device close to the conversation, as inconspicuously as possible.
That's so cool.
To do this, he goes to a nearby building with a view of the targeted location, no more than 300 feet away. With him, he has a trained
Damn,
raven.
that's pretty close still.
At the appropriate time, he aims a tiny flashing laser at the window ledge outside the room where the conversation is taking place. Then he releases the raven from its cage.
What the heck?
The bird takes a disguised listening device in its beak and flies to the spot indicated by the
disguise
laser to
does?
plant the equipment. The agent then turns on a special
They're just like having a meeting, and a croissant just like lands on the windowsill, and they're like, okay.
desk lamp to signal to the raven that it's time to return.
I mean, also
Later
ravens
on,
are
the raven is
pretty-
sent to retrieve the recording device
pretty
by the same
big.
method.
not
At
terribly
least, this is how it's described
inconspicuous.
in the document, Operator's Manual, Avian
Oh
Delivery
my god,
System.
that's so crazy.
In real life, things didn't go as smoothly.
Ah, yes, the ADS.
Training a wild animal to be a spy takes time. It takes planning. If the CIA is still training animals today, they're most likely using Udu's all-in-one management software.
Oh my god, what a
Udu offers
what
a powerful
segue,
range of
dude. Okay, so let's see. That was a good segue. I'm not gonna lie.
They couldn't fly comfortably. One put the listening device on the wrong windowsill, and when a device made it to the
Oh,
right
no.
windowsill, the microphone picked up so much ambient noise, the recording was useless. The document
Okay.
suggests that this whole technique was
Well,
only
that's a
used a single time,
Technology
and the
issue.
attempt seems to have been unsuccessful. Unfortunately, Duda's luck eventually ran
God.
out. One day he was attacked by a pair of wild ravens he'd fought many times before.
Oh my god, they
All three
freaking
birds disappeared from
ganged
sight,
up. They
and
jumped
Duda
him.
never returned. He was presumed killed in action.
Damn, they had beef. They're like, this dude stole our
The
job.
saga of Duda mourns his loss. He was in a class by himself, writes his trainer.
Alright,
He had a very large bag of tricks and was loved by all. In view of these talents, I suppose
Bag
I
of
shouldn't have been
tricks.
too surprised when he so quickly became a star on this project.
Oh my god.
In spite of our deep sense of loss, writes the anonymous agent,
Wow.
we do understand such tragedies are inevitable.
They had a bond or something. I mean,
Ravens aren't the only birds the CIA
that's
used as
some
spies.
poetic
In
writing.
secret locations across the United States, Project Axiolite was also busy turning the humblest of birds into covert eyes in the
Oh,
sky.
Axiolite too.
It's September 1976. Aerial photographs show the Soviets building nuclear submarines in Leningrad,
Huh.
but the CIA needs more information. Spy planes fly tens of thousands of feet above their target, while satellites are restricted to space. From these distances, it's impossible to take detailed high-resolution photos. Enter pigeons. A pigeon could fly about
Oh my
100
gosh.
feet over a target any time.
I mean, what were they during World War II? Or World War One? I think they were using pigeons as like messengers, if I remember that correctly. So, I mean, I guess they're kind of just picking up. I wonder, like, how intelligent are pigeons? Because, like, growing up in like New York City, you just see pigeons all over the place, and they're just kind of like they're kind of annoying. They look gross. I don't know, they're just everywhere and they get in the way. So I wouldn't imagine a whole lot. I wouldn't have a whole lot of high expectations for
Day
them.
or night, and regardless of the weather. Most importantly, no one would notice it, and they could clearly be trained. Pigeons are no strangers to war.
Wow.
During World War II, the British National Pigeon Service would drop cases of the birds over occupied Europe. People would send them back with information about daily life or even military details like troop movements. The key was their unique honing instinct.
Oh my gosh.
Anywhere you release a pigeon, it can find its way back home. Even today, this ability still isn't fully understood.
Huh.
To exploit pigeons' natural talents for aerial photography, the CIA's Office of Research and Development created special 16mm cameras and harnesses for the birds to wear.
Oh my god, imagine getting your hands on one of those now.
And attached to the birds with adjustable Velcro tabs. They were designed to allow the birds full freedom of movement while holding the camera steady during flight.
Oh my god, I feel like that looks very similar to the exhibit that I saw. I want to see if I can find the International Spy Museum exhibit. I'll put it up here, but that's so cool.
The cameras were lightweight and miniaturized. Each had a small battery-powered motor that advanced the film and cocked the shutter. Each camera had its own timer. When it went off, the camera would take pictures for just a few minutes, resulting in 150 to 220 photos.
Damn.
Together, the camera and harness weighed just 39.5 grams. To produce useful images, pigeons needed to fly directly over their target at exactly the right time, but this could be difficult to arrange. Once they were released, the pigeons would fly back home in a more or less direct line. If the target was located on that line, there was a fairly good chance the pigeons would fly over it. But in covert situations, it wasn't always possible to release pigeons in ideal locations. Some areas were restricted, others were too exposed.
It's like, oh shit,
to get around this problem, CIA handlers tried to teach the birds ABC flight. Point A is the point of release, point B is the target, and point C is the pigeon's home loft. To begin with, temporary targets a short distance away were established at point B. When they flew to these targets, the pigeons were rewarded. Over time, they were conditioned to expect this reward. Next, the reward at point B was eliminated, but to receive a reward at point C, they had to fly over point B first.
These guys always have peanuts at their
meeting. And that's how they trained a pigeon to move from A to B to C.
Interesting.
Once the birds were conditioned, they moved on to longer training flights.
Just talking about like
inflatable white radums 20 feet in diameter were used as point B. The CIA trained and tested birds in lofts in Oregon, Virginia, Missouri, and Alaska. Alaska, it was noted, shared certain geographical features with areas of interest in the Soviet Union. The training yielded mixed results. Birds were often lost along the way. Some birds simply flew away. Some were killed by wild birds.
I'm gonna head out.
On the longer training flights, many birds flew too low along freeways and were hit by cars.
Oh my gosh.
Birds sometimes disappeared while wearing the special equipment that had been developed for them. Losses were time-consuming and expensive. Each time a bird was lost, a new one had to be purchased and trained. Some of the photos taken were very high quality. Some missed the target entirely. Even when the birds were fully trained, they could be relied on to complete their ABC mission only about 1 out of 4 times.
I mean, that's
AC flights still held potential, though. If the release point was chosen carefully, with the target area between it and the home loft, CIA analysts felt there was a high probability the birds would fly over the intended target and obtain the high-resolution photos required.
I mean, how much time was spent to, like, find all of this out?
So the CIA knows that the Soviets are building nuclear submarines in the Admiralty and Sudomek shipyards in Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg, and it needs high-resolution photos. Time for the pigeons to shine.
I wonder if we're going to see
an agent will have to release the pigeons with the shipyards between himself and the pigeon's home loft. To do this without being detected will require clandestine release techniques. The documents mention 3 that are considered as options. One is releasing the birds from underneath a large overcoat.
Oh, no kidding.
The second option is briefcases and shopping bags with trick bottoms. The third option is this Volkswagen Beetle. A hole is cut in the floor. When the car is parked, pigeons are released through the hole.
That's really
waddle
smart.
out from underneath the car and immediately take flight. The operation is to go ahead by August 1978.
How hard is it to find like a safe house and release them from there?
It's unclear whether the operation actually ever happened. The documents don't say.
That's so cool.
While the CIA's birds may have gathered invaluable aerial photo insights, other agents were being trained to sabotage enemy ships. This is James W. Fitzgerald. He's an engineer and physicist. It's 1964, and Fitzgerald has been thinking about dolphins a lot. At a cocktail party, he mentions that he believes the animals could be used in warfare. The person he's talking to happens to be an admiral in the U.S. Navy. He's intrigued enough to introduce Fitzgerald to someone from the CIA.
Might be, you know, a few drinks involved.
Around the same time, the TV show Flipper debuts. It's about a crime-fighting dolphin in a marine reserve in the Florida Keys.
Let's
Like
make him a
most
spy.
dolphins, Flipper is smart and friendly to humans, and he responds well to commands. We'll never know whether Fitzgerald and the CIA were inspired by Flipper, but it is plausible. According to the Washington
Imagine
Post,
that.
at this point, the CIA
If I
sends
made that
Fitzgerald
movie, I would
to
take
Florida,
full credit.
where he establishes a small laboratory. The same year, the CIA begins its dolphin program, Project Oxygas.
Oxygas? What a weird name.
The aim of Project Oxygas is to show
Oh,
that
no.
dolphins can be used in attacks against enemy ships. To this end, harnesses and nose cones are created to allow the dolphins to carry items.
What the heck?
Someone in the CIA even produces this drawing. The dolphins are happily towing the explosive devices given to them by their hand.
Okay, what is going on here? Why is there a dolphin in a tank? Okay, okay, I see now. Okay, so this is... Of course they're underwater. I mean, the dolphins are swimming. They're not flying away from us. Stupid. But okay, so what? Did they just like attach this to the submarine with the dolphins inside, and they just like, okay, just stay here. We're gonna outfit you with these. They're trying to say like mini nukes, and then just okay, it's like as they're swimming out, you try and like lasso this around their nose.
Handlers on top of the submarine. The program quickly passes its first test. It demonstrates that a dolphin can place a simulated explosive device against the propeller of a PT boat anchored in the open sea.
The propeller. Oh my God, they're gonna get chopped
In November
up.
1964, the Deputy Assistant Director of the Office of Research and Development writes that Project Oxygas has progressed more rapidly than we anticipated.
Quite frankly, that's cool.
It's unclear exactly what sort of simulated explosives these dolphins were carrying.
Like
The sentence
we
that
were drunk
specifies
when he
this
made
is
this
partly
idea,
redacted.
but it's working.
The CIA probably planned on using conventional explosives, but if this was the case, why the need for secrecy? A 2021 article in Popular Mechanics suggests a haunting possibility. In 1965, miniaturized nuclear weapons might have seemed achievable in the near future. The magnitude of such an idea would certainly explain the need for continued
Golly.
secrecy.
Imagine dolphins nuking
The program's
people.
first success unlocks other goals. Trainers explore having dolphins place listening devices on enemy nuclear submarines.
I wouldn't trust that.
The hope
There's
is that
like-
directly attaching the devices will produce high-quality recordings that allow the CIA to better understand how the enemy's subs work. But wild animals are hard to train.
Yeah, the dolphins
One of the
would get
dolphins'
bitter and
strengths
just
is how social they
strike
are.
back.
They're willing to work, especially as they bond with their trainers. But at some point, this becomes a liability. If the dolphins are performing tasks that please their trainers, then in the field, they'll need extra time to bond with agents before they can be considered reliable. There are also questions about whether dolphins can carry out operations over longer distances.
It's like, you know what? I kind of miss home.
At
I'm
some
gonna
point,
turn
the
around.
CIA seems to realize its limitations in understanding
back to the
dolphins'
submarine with the
capabilities,
nuke still.
and it contacts the Navy's Office of Naval Research to help. In 1967, the program's focus changed to intelligence gathering. The dolphins were to be trained to
Oh my
travel great
gosh.
distances, at least 12 miles. They would retrieve dead drops, items or information undercover
No
agents had left
kidding.
behind in the water to be picked up.
How do they just? I mean, I guess you could drop it off of a ship or something, or just dive and. That's
A memo
so
from September
cool.
14th
That's
that year
crazy to
suggests that
think about.
Oxygas had become a joint program with the CIA
dolphin
and the
dead
Department
drop?
of Defense. The CIA seemed unsure that Project Oxygas would produce actionable results, and the program seemed to be running out of steam. A make-or-break demonstration was scheduled for December. At that time, it would be decided whether Project Oxygas would continue. The demonstration seems to have been a failure. After that time, there are no further mentions of the program in the CIA documents.
That's so cool, though. I mean, you know, no one's gonna come
Surviving
across
drawings
those
and photographs
dead
gives us
drops
an idea of what Project Oxygas might have looked like.
on the bottom
Glimpses
of
of
the
Project
water.
Kesho are far more rare. But between the redactions, a hazy picture emerges
Oh
of
no!
likely the oddest creature the CIA ever created.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
This
right. Acoustic
Is
Kitty.
Acoustic Kitty. Acoustic Kitty is the legendary
That's right.
project of Project Catch-all, the CIA's dog and cat program. Of all the CIA's
creepy.
animal projects, Acoustic Kitty might have been the most controversial and the hardest to corroborate, depending on who you believe.
Okay.
The saga of Acoustic Kitty goes in fundamentally different directions.
Oh my god.
Here's the CIA story. In 1964, the agency wanted to be able to explore conversations held out in the open. Think two Soviet agents having a conversation in a public park. That required getting close and focusing in on the conversation without attracting attention.
Just
The
random cat
solution is
walks up,
cats,
just like
who
sits
can
down.
often prowl
It's like,
around without people ever noticing them.
Go on.
A microphone is surgically placed inside a cat's ear canal. A transmitter is placed underneath a bunch of loose skin, and an antenna is woven into its fur.
That's crazy.
The whole procedure
Oh my
is low risk,
gosh.
humane, and minimally invasive.
Okay.
But the cat is still a cat. It can be
Says the
trained only so
CIA.
far. Eventually, it will do what it wants. Acoustic Kitty was never deployed in the field, and the listening devices were carefully removed from its body. But Victor Marchetti, who was special assistant to the CIA's deputy director in the 1960s, tells a very different story. Here's his version. It's sometime in the 1960s. The CIA puts a Chinese diplomat in France under surveillance, but their bugs don't just pick up his conversations. They record all the noise in the room, including the squeaking of the couch. Individual voices are inaudible. This is characteristic of the microphones of the day, which tend to record everything around them indiscriminately. The anatomy of ears, on the other hand, allows us to focus on certain sounds and exclude others. This and your brain's auditory processing abilities are why you can have a conversation at a noisy party without being overwhelmed by every sound. When Acoustic Kitty turned its head, it would direct the microphone inside its ear. According to Marchetti, to implant the equipment, they slit the cat open, put batteries in him, wired him up, including putting a power pack in his abdomen. The tail was used as an antenna. They made a monstrosity. To focus on a single conversation, Acoustic Kitty would need to be trained. His handlers found that hunger or sexual arousal would cause him to simply lose interest and wander off, so they attached wires to his brain to monitor and neutralize those impulses. Marchetti claims the CIA did attempt to use Acoustic Kitty in the field. The cat was then put on a test, sent across the street to eavesdrop on a conversation, being monitored by a van loaded with equipment. And as this poor little monstrosity waddled across the street, a taxi cab came down and ran over it. So it was $25 million down the drain.
That was the counter surveillance.
$25 million was a lot of money then. The CIA disputes all this. On its website, it claims that Marchetti's comments were meant to be a joke.
See, but what you don't know is that was the counter surveillance, and they saw what the CIA was doing. They're like, nice try.
It was a lot of money then. The CIA disputes all this. On its website, it claims that Marchetti's comments were meant to be a joke, and the unclassified documents are no help. The single document about Acoustic Kitty is heavily redacted. The CIA didn't just train and transform animals,
I can imagine why.
it also
Probably
recreated
just
them.
Procedure
This
alone.
looks like a dragonfly, but look closer, it's a machine, the Insectothopter. The CIA created this tiny gas-powered listening device back in the 70s.
Gas-powered?
It contains a microphone.
That's like a really
and it can flap
smart
its wings
idea.
rapidly and fly just over 600 feet in a minute, guided by a laser beam. A remarkable technical achievement.
So cool, dude.
With some serious limitations. Even a light breeze can throw it off course immediately.
It was like the Black Hornet
It was
drones.
never used operationally. In a memo, the CIA's Deputy Director of Research and Development wrote that unfocused experimentation in the animal programs represented the worst kind of waste in terms of manpower and money. The unclassified documents often suggest that the CIA was simply exploring what animals could do without having any real objective in mind. And the results are somewhat disappointing.
I mean, you see the videos online of like the Chinese like drones that are like birds flapping around and stuff.
Ravens were trained for years just to be killed by wild birds. Pigeons randomly disappeared with
now
gear
they're just trying to turn technology
and depending on who you believe,
animal.
An expensive cyborg cat was at best useless in the field, and at worst immediately hit
by a car. Arguably just as difficult.
The declassified documents suggest that by the mid-1970s, the animal projects had fizzled out. Despite this disappointment, the quest to weaponize animals continues. The United States Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, known as DARPA, has been running programs aimed at controlling insects for espionage. In 2012, a team at MIT announced that it had developed a neural probe that plugged into moths' nervous systems, allowing for their flight to be controlled. Engineers at the University of Washington have implanted moths' antenna into the Smellithopter, a drone that can actually pick up smells. And in 2018, DARPA announced the Persistent Aquatic Moving Sensors program. The program explored the possibility of using aquatic creatures as living alarm systems. That includes bioluminescent bacteria, which light up when disturbed by aquatic intruders. Another option was to study the sounds produced by snapping shrimp and Goliath grouper. In the case of the shrimp, disturbances in the audio could even indicate the size and shape of an intruder.
Really scientific.
It remains to be seen whether DARPA or the CIA can harness the natural world for intelligence purposes, or whether wilderness will remain just that. Maybe someday we'll discover whether any real success stories lie within all those redactions.
That was so cool. Yeah, I saw a video just the other day where I forgot what they called it, like I don't know, they were using like, they had a spider and they pumped air into it and it like would close its legs to grab stuff. It was really, really kind of creepy to see, but really interesting. They called it something. So maybe it's kind of like along the same vein as these things. Again, like you kind of hear these stories and you're like, there's no way that these can be true. But you should never underestimate what, especially the CIA, is willing to do to have this innovative way to get information. If there's information that they want and they can't get it through any other means, then they'll make up their own way to get it. And it's really fascinating to see the kind of innovation. A little morbid in how they executed some of it, but it is really cool to kind of see just the ingenuity. And it looks like they're kind of looking at more like, I guess you can say, more humane approaches as far as how to just like not necessarily turn these animals into like cyborgs or what have you, or like living drones, but kind of just using their own mechanisms to support the effort. So really interesting stuff. If you guys know of any other stories of like weird, crazy tradecraft or spy tools, let me know down in the comment section, because I would love to check out more of those. This is just like the CIA, and I would imagine like, especially like Russia, China, I'd imagine a lot of these other big nations have created some really interesting ways to try and collect information. So if you guys know of any of those, definitely let me know down below. I can try and find some videos or just, research it for my own like personal knowledge and interest, I guess. But super fascinating video, very, very well done. And again, this is stuff that I've seen in the International Spy Museum. So they kind of have it on display as well. They're like, we know this was a weird time in like spy history, in our history as like the CIA. But yeah, here you go. This is kind of what we tried doing. This is what we were spending some tax dollars on. Really fascinating stuff. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. The whole world, the whole like spy world gets more and more interesting as you kind of learn the history of it. But yeah, for me, very fascinating stuff. Hopefully it was fascinating for you guys as well. If you guys appreciate it, definitely consider giving a thumbs up to the video, comment. And of course, if you guys aren't subscribed, definitely consider subscribing. I'll put the metric up here for viewers who are not subscribed versus subscribed. It kind of blows your mind a little bit. So if you guys aren't subscribed, I definitely appreciate hitting that subscribe button. But yeah, if you guys have anything else to recommend, let me know down in the comment section. But that is it for this video. I'll see you on the next one.